The next concept is the energy of a fluid which is in motion. Whenever a fluid is in motion, whether it is in a turbulent flow or streamlined flow, it possesses three different types of energies. First one, kinetic energy. Second one, pressure energy. Third one, potential energy. First, we will discuss about the kinetic energy. When a fluid is under the motion, each fluid element will move with a velocity v. Whenever an element changes to the velocity v, its energy converts from Pe to Ke. So, the general expression of Ke is equal to half mv square. But whenever a fluid is flowing through a tube, we should consider this kinetic energy per unit volume. Therefore, Ke per unit volume is equal to half mv square by v. Therefore, half m by v square. Mass by volume is nothing but the density. Therefore, it is half rho v square. This is called kinetic energy per unit volume. The second energy is pressure energy. It is due to the pressure applied on the fluid element. So, pressure energy P is nothing but force by area. So, F into L by A into L. So, A into L is nothing but the volume, F into L is nothing but the work done. So, pressure energy is nothing but the energy consumed per unit volume. The third one is potential energy. Potential energy, it is due to the position of the particle from a certain point. So, with respect to the general equation, potential energy is equal to mgh, where h is equal to position of the desired point from a certain reference. So, that's why its expression is mgh. So, when we discuss this for unit volume, so therefore, Pe per unit volume, that is equal to mgh by v, where m by v is equal to rho, therefore it is rho gh. So, the potential energy per unit volume is rho gh, pressure energy per unit volume is work done by volume, and kinetic energy per unit volume is half rho v square. These three types of energies, as a bulk, it is useful to explain the Bernoulli's theorem. So, what is Bernoulli's theorem? The Bernoulli's theorem is explaining the sum of the total energy of the fluid which is under the motion. So, let us consider a non-viscous, incompressible and irrotational fluid. This is the tube. It has two ends, one narrow end and one broad end. This tube is fixed at two different heights from the reference point. Let us say this is at a height h1, this is at a height h2. There is a height difference between h1 and h2. So, when a non-viscous, incompressible and irrotational fluid flowing through a tube of flow, so its sum of potential energy, pressure energy and kinetic energy per unit volume is always remains constant at each and every point throughout the motion. This is the statement of Bernoulli's theorem. When an incompressible irrotational and non-viscous fluid flowing through a tube then the sum of its potential energy, kinetic energy, and pressure energy per unit volume remains constant at each and every point through its motion. Throughout the motion. So this is called Bernoulli's theorem. So the pressure energy is P plus potential energy per unit volume is rho GH plus kinetic energy per unit volume is half rho V square is equal to constant. So this is the equation we should prove in Bernoulli's theorem. Now we will go to the proof of this Bernoulli's theorem. So let us assume a tube, it has two ends. These two ends are maintained at two different heights, not at the same heights. This is the reference point. This is and this is. The first end of the tube has area of cross section A1. Second end of the tube has area of cross section A2. The velocity of the flux entering through A1 is V1. The velocity of the flux which is leaving the area of cross section A2 is V2. This area of cross section A1, nothing but the first end of the tube is at a height H1. The second end of the tube is at a height H2. Let us consider an incompressible, irrotational and non-viscous fluid has entered to this tube. It has to cross over the different points to reach A2. Whenever this is done, what we can understand is, according to the equation of continuity, equation of continuity, A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. Area into velocity is constant at each and every point through its motion. So like this. Now see the end A1. The amount of or the mass of the flux entering through A1 is like this. The mass of flux entering at A1 is equal to M1 is equal to, we can write that rho is equal to mass by volume. This refers to mass is equal to rho into volume. So it is rho 1. V we can write as area into length. A1. Length we can write as velocity into time. Because the amount of mass M1 which is entering through the area of cross section A1 with respect to the given time dt. So that's why it is written as M1 rho 1 A1 V1 dt. So at the same time, the mass of flux leaving at A2 is equal to M2. So again, M2 is equal to rho 2 A2 V2 dt. The amount of work done by the fluid against its pressure at the two ends is nothing but the W1 minus W2. So the pressure difference due to the liquid motion is the work done due to the difference in pressure of the liquid is equal to work done due to the pressure is equal to rho 1 A1 V1 dt minus rho 2 A2 V2 dt. It is the work done to move the fluid from one end of the tube to the another end of the tube against the pressure, nothing but equal to the difference in the pressure. So work done due to the gravitational force at the first end. It is not only due to the potential energy or the work done due to the pressure. Whenever a flux is entering to the tube, it is overcoming the gravitational force also. That means the flux is doing some work against the gravitational force also at the both ends. So the work done due to gravitational force at A1 is equal to mgh1, because the work done by a gravitational force is nothing but its potential energy. That's why we can write mgh1. At the same time, the work done due to gravitational force at area A2 is equal to mgh2. So the work done due to the gravitational force is given by like this. What is the change in the work? mgh1 minus mgh2. The change in work done against the gravitational force is equal to mgh1 minus mgh2. So according to the law of conservation of energy, work done due to the pressure plus work done due to the gravitational force is equal to the change in kinetic energy. According to the law of conservation of energy, work done due to pressure plus work done due to gravitational force, nothing but work done by a body is equal to change in its kinetic energy. Therefore, work done due to the pressure is P1 A1 V1 dt minus P2 A2 V2 dt plus this is work done due to the pressure. Work done due to the gravity is mg h1 minus mg h2. This is equal to change in kinetic energy means half m v2 square minus half m v1 square. Now I am dividing the whole equation with m. whole equation with m. Therefore, P1 A1 V1 dt by m minus P2 A2 V2 dt by m plus mg h1 by m minus mg h2 by m, that is equal to half m v2 square by m minus half m v1 square by m. So now what we can understand is this m and m gets cancelled. Here also m gets cancelled. M cancel, m cancel. This a1 v1 dt. So what is this a1 v1 dt? Volume. v1 into dt is length. Length into area is volume. Therefore it is P1 v1 by m minus P2 v2 by m plus gh1 minus gh2 is equal to half v2 square minus half v1 square. Mass by volume is equal to density. Volume by mass is equal to 1 by density. Therefore, we can write this one as P1 by rho minus P2 by rho plus gh1 minus gh2 is equal to half v2 square minus half v1 square. So if we take this one as rho as LCM, it is like this: P1 minus P2 plus rho g h1 minus rho g h2 by rho is equal to half v2 square minus half v1 square. Therefore, P1 minus P2 plus rho g h1 minus rho g h2 is equal to half rho v2 square minus half rho v1 square. Now I am bringing all ones to one side, all twos to another side. Therefore, the equation is P1 plus half rho v1 square plus rho g h1 is equal to P2 plus half rho v2 square plus rho g h2. So according to the equation of continuity, we can write this one as P plus half rho v square plus rho g h is equal to constant. So this is the equation we have proved. Pressure energy plus kinetic energy per unit mass plus potential energy per unit mass is equal to constant at any point of the flow of the fluid. Now we will discuss the applications of Bernoulli's principle. Bernoulli's principle is almost a consequence or analogous or similar to the law of conservation of energy, and the many applications are available we can observe in case of Bernoulli's principle. The one of the first example in the Bernoulli's principle is velocity of a flux. It is also called Torricelli's theorem. This is the application of Bernoulli's principle. First of all, what is the meaning of a flux? Let us take a water tanker or a big container, has large dimensions and large volume, filled with a fluid or a liquid, nothing but water. Whenever this tank is closed like this, it is having the height of capital H, means the height of the water tanker is capital H. Now on the second end we did one hole to leak the water. So through the hole the water will come out. It occupies the parabolic path while it is approaching to the earth. The water which is coming out of the hole from a certain height is called efflux. Entering is entering flux, leaving is efflux. Now, this hole is at a distance of h from the top surface. From the bottom, it is at a height of h minus h. So, if this is the case, what is the velocity of the efflux through this hole? This will be determined by using the Bernoulli's principle. What is the actual statement of the Bernoulli's principle? P plus half rho v square plus rho g h is equal to constant. If you consider this equation to the part 1 and part 2, this equation will be balanced like this. P1 plus half rho v1 square plus rho g h1 is equal to P2 plus half rho v2 square plus rho g h2. Now, we should substitute this h1 and h2 values, and v1 and v2 values, all remaining are equal throughout the efflux. Now, we should apply the equation of continuity to solve the equation. If you see the top surface of this water tanker or the container, its area of cross section is, let us say, capital A. If you see the surface area of the hole is small a. Through the small a, it is moving with a velocity small v. From the top surface, it is moving with a velocity capital V. Or we can write v dash. So, what we can write from this equation is, according to equation of continuity, A v is equal to capital A v dash. So, from this, if you want to find out the velocity here, v is equal to A by A into v dash, capital A by small a into v dash. Now, there will be some changes occurred in this equation. So, what are the changes? So, now, this is the Bernoulli's equation. Now, we will see the changes in this equation. Means changes are nothing but we should substitute the terminologies which are related to this propagation. So, P naught, because in the both ends atmosphere only experiencing the pressure, means atmosphere is injecting the pressure to the liquid. So, because of that the water is effluxing. So, P naught plus half rho v square plus rho g into 0, because if water has leaked, this will be a free surface. Up to this whole layer will be leaked out. So, this hole will be a free surface. On the free surface, there is no liquid above that. That's why we can substitute h is equal to 0. Therefore, it is P naught plus half rho v dash square plus rho g h. Why it is h? So, from height h it is falling. The pressure is falling from height h. So, at this height we should experience the pressure. So, that is why up to this the height is h. So, this equation will be P naught plus half rho v square is equal to P naught plus half rho v dash square plus rho g h. P naught and P naught gets cancelled. So, we got half rho v square is equal to half rho v dash square plus rho g h. Rho gets cancelled. But we can say that AV is equal to A v dash. So, from this v dash is equal to small a by capital A into v. Now, I am substituting this v dash value in this equation. After the cancellations of rho, this equation will be like this. V square by 2 is equal to V dash square by 2 plus GH. So it will be V square is equal to V dash square plus 2GH. So we got the equation V square by 2 is equal to V dash square by 2 plus GH. So if you simplify this equation, V square is equal to V dash square plus 2GH. Now we should substitute V dash square values. So AV is equal to capital AV dash. So from this V dash is equal to small a by capital A into V. Now I am substituting this V dash value in the above equation. So therefore V square is equal to A by A into V whole square plus 2GH. Therefore it is A square by A square into V square plus 2GH is equal to V square. So from this 2GH is equal to, we'll get the equation V square minus A square V square by capital A square. Suppose if you take V square as common, it is 1 minus A square by A square is equal to 2GH. So therefore V square is equal to 2GH by 1 minus A square by A square. V is equal to square root of 2GH by 1 minus A square by A square. So what we can write? What is this V? Velocity of a flux through the cross section area small a. So this is the expression for the velocity of a flux. It is square root of 2GH by 1 minus small a square by capital A square. So like this we can able to find out the velocity of a flux. This is also called Torricelli's equation for the fluid mechanics. Good, sir. So from this equation, if we check the special condition like A is much less than capital A, the area of cross section of the hole is much less than the area of cross section of the top of the water tanker, then we can neglect the denominator part, because A is very less than small a. Then this A square by A square will be less than 1 and we can cancel out. So therefore this will become V is equal to square root of 2GH. This is almost analogous to V square minus U square is equal to 2AS. For freely falling body U is equal to 0. Therefore V square is equal to 2AS. If the height traveled by the body means from height h, if the body is dropped, then we can write S is equal to h and A is equal to g. Therefore V square is equal to 2GH. V is equal to square root of 2GH. So whenever a flux is coming out of the hole to a tanker or a vessel, it is behaving as a freely falling body and its velocity is equal to square root of 2GH. The next example of the Bernoulli's principle is Venturi meter. What is the construction of the Venturi meter? It is a U-tubed shape like this. The second end is placed at certain height when compared to the first one. At the second end, there is a tube which is passing like this. So there is a height difference from here to here. The height is h like this. This is the structure of the Venturi meter. What is the use of Venturi meter? Venturi meter is also useful to find out the force of blood pressure, especially while it is pumping to the heart and from heart to the remaining parts of the body. So this, whenever a liquid which is passing through the small areas of the cross section, so they should move with higher velocity to pass over the entire length. So according to equation of continuity, again we can write A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. So AV is equal to A into small v. We can write like this also. So from this, small v is equal to capital A by A into capital V. Small area of cross section, small a. So area of cross section is small a. Velocity is small v through this. And when it is passing through the U tube, so the tube's width should be greater than the width of the tube. That's why its area of cross section is capital A, and the velocity of the flux which is traveling through this U tube is capital V. So now we should apply the Bernoulli's equation for the propagation of the fluid through these narrow tubes. So the Bernoulli's equation is P plus half rho V square plus rho GH is equal to constant. It will be written as P1 plus half rho V1 square plus rho GH1 is equal to P2 plus half rho V2 square plus rho GH2. Now we should substitute the V1, V2, H1, H2 values. Then we can get the answer for the blood flow or nothing but the fluid's speed through the narrow tubes. So now we can say that this is P1 plus half rho V1 square. H1 and H2 will be gets cancelled out because if you see the heights, how much height it is increased on the another end, so thus much height it will be lowered in the second end. So we can say from here to here also it will be the height H. So take a liquid of density rho which is falling from the height H. So then P1 plus half rho V1 square is equal to, where H1 is equal to H2, it is equal to P2 plus half rho V2 square. So the equation is A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. So capital AV is equal to capital AV1 is equal to small AV2. So V2 is equal to capital A by small a into V1. Therefore, P1 minus P2 is equal to half rho V2 square minus half rho V1 square. Now we should substitute V2 is equal to this one and we will take the common words. Therefore, P1 minus P2 is equal to half rho into V2 is A by A into V1 whole square minus V1 square. So this is half rho V1 square into A by A whole square minus 1. This is equal to P1 minus P2. According to the gauge pressure equation, this P1 minus P2 will equal to rho GH. Now we can say that P1 minus P2 is equal to rho GH, but here the rho is density of the liquid, nothing but we can write rho as rho LGH. So therefore it is rho L GH is equal to half rho V1 square into A by A whole square minus 1. So from this 2 into rho L GH is equal to rho V1 square into A by A whole square minus 1. So from this V1 square is equal to 2 rho L GH by rho into A by A whole square minus 1 is equal to V1 square. Therefore, V1 is equal to square root of 2 into rho L GH by rho into A by A whole square minus 1. So this is the velocity of the liquid which is passing through the small neck through a small area of cross section. This venturimeter is useful to find the force of the blood pressure from heart to the remaining organs and organs to the heart. Now we will discuss the construction of it and a numerical based on this. The next concept is blood flow and heart attack. This venturimeter is connected to the different arteries which are connected to the heart. Whenever these arteries are closed due to the cholesterol or plaque on the walls, then we should exert more pressure to pump the blood through the nerves and arteries which are connected to the heart. So this difference in the velocities of the blood at each and every point of the nerves and arteries will gives the result of the examination of heart attack. So in venturimeter, on one end we have seen some constricted thin gaps or thin layers which are able to pass some fluid through it, like this. Such like this venturimeter, once it is connected to the heart nerves, if suppose these are the nerves which are connected to the heart, once these are restricted or closed with the plaque on the walls, then the blood will come like this, and here there is a sudden drop of the velocity of the blood because area of cross section is very less. So if area of cross section is very less, then to maintain the constant velocity for the blood force, we should exert more pressure continuously from one end. This more pressure may cause to the heart attack. So this is the functioning of the heart with respect to that. So it causes to the heart attack due to the pressure. Pressure is equal to force by area. When area is less, more pressure should be applied. That's why doctors used to give advice to take care about the heart, to check the BP levels every day and at least for 1 month. And we should not take the food materials which are highly cholesterol content, because the gaps between the nerves will be closed because of these cholesterols. So which can give the heart attack, means heart doesn't get the sufficient blood at the rate of the common rate. So how it is calculated with the help of venturimeter? For that purpose, we should observe one numerical. This is the problem which is related to the venturimeter and the blood flow. So the flow of blood in a large artery of an anesthetized dog is diverted through a venturimeter. The wider part of the meter has a cross-sectional area equal to that of the artery, nothing but A is equal to 8 mm square. The narrower part has an area A is equal to 4 mm square. The pressure drop in the artery is 24 pascals. So what is the speed of the blood in the artery? So therefore, capital A, the one end of the area, is equal to 8 mm square. Small a is equal to 4 mm square. Pressure drop P is equal to 24 pascals. Now we should find out the velocity. So we know that velocity is equal to square root of 2 rho L GH by rho into A by A whole square minus 1, where rho is equal to rho of the blood, 1.06 in 10 to the power of 3 kg per meter cube. Therefore, V is equal to, so what is the height and G? So it is no need to calculate this one. This rho GH is nothing but the pressure. So it will be 2 P by rho, square root of 2P by rho into A by A whole square minus 1. Now I am substituting all these values which was given in the problem. Therefore, V is equal to square root of 2 into, so what is the pressure? 24 pascals. What is rho? 1.06. 10 to the power of 3 kg per meter cube. A by A, where A is equal to 8, small a is equal to 4, 8 by 4 whole square minus 1. Therefore, it is square root of 48 by 1.06 into 10 cube into 2 square minus 1. 2 square is 4, 4 minus 1 is 3, 3 into 48, 144. By 1.06 into 10 to the power of 3. So now this is 12 by square root of 1.06 into 10 cube. This is 0.106 into 10 to the power of 4. That is nothing but 10 square under the root. So if we calculate the whole thing, we will get 0.125 meters per second. So this is the velocity of the blood which is flowing through the anesthetized artery of the dog. So up to now we have discussed the applications of Bernoulli's principle, but instrumental applications. Different instruments, venturimeter, Torricelli's applications, these are all instrumental based applications of Bernoulli's principle. Now we will discuss the Bernoulli's principle on the basis of physical significance. That means physically visible to us, nothing but a phenomenal explanation. So, phenomenal examples of Bernoulli's principle. First example is dynamic lift. So what is this dynamic lift? Dynamic lift is the motion of the body due to the pressure differences, the force acting on the body due to the pressure differences. As usually, motion is also related to the force. So the force exerted on a body due to the difference in pressure. So how this is possible? Lifting means going up always. Lifting means it is always going up. So dynamic lift means the dynamic nature of the air or pressure which can lift the body. So this dynamic lift we can see in two examples. One is due to the airfoil. So if you see the wing of an aeroplane, it is designed like this. So it seems to be a concave shaped wing. So what is the concave shape? The concave shape means like this. So this will be the out focus, which is focused to the pressure due to the air. This will be the curve which is out inward. In this case, whenever some air is acting on the wing of an aeroplane, because of its concave shape, this wing can be adjusted due to the flying height. If the wing, if the aeroplane should move at a height of some 1000 kilometers or 2000 kilometers, so that much height it should increase. So that purpose, we know that P is equal to rho GH. So pressure difference is also related to the height. That's why how much height should be attained by the flight, that much pressure it will attain. So to indicate that, what will happen is, the pressure at the top is always less than the pressure at bottom. So pressure at the bottom is high. Because whenever, if the wing is like this, when air touches this blow while it is flowing, this air will be divided into two equal parts. One is upward, one is downward. Because of the cross-sectional design of the air wing, the downward more pressure will go. Upward there is a vacant space. So this downward pressure can lift the adjustment or can give the adjustment for the shape of the wing. That's why it used to rotate according to the flying of the aeroplane. So such like that we can observe the dynamic lift in the airfoil. So this is a dynamic lift. The phenomenon is when air touches the cross-sectional area of the wing, it is divided into two parts. Bottom part will go to the higher pressure section, top part is at the low pressure. So from the top, always pressure from depth is very high when compared to the heights. So from bottom to height, the pressure will act perpendicularly, and like that the wings will adjust. Then the flights can go to the certain heights of the traveling limits. So this is one of the examples in the dynamic lift due to the airfoil. So we can say that the motion of the aeroplanes and helicopters is also examples of the Bernoulli's principle. Next we will observe the same dynamic lift in the different objects. The next concept or next examples of the Bernoulli's principle is the dynamic lift on a moving spinning ball. Let us suppose take a cricket ball. If the ball is not spinning, it should travel through air to reach the batsman or to reach the fielder. While a ball is not spinning, if it is going in a streamline, then the air which touches or which is near to the ball equally divides on either ends of the ball in a streamline flow like this. In this case, the pressure at the top end of the ball is equal to the pressure at the bottom end. Always bottom pressure should be more. But if this case is not spinning case, if the ball is spinning, means its rotation is towards a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. Let us assume the spinning in the clockwise direction. So the spinning in the clockwise direction, so this is the cricket ball. Once it is spinning, it is like this. So I am drawing the arrow mark in the direction of its spin. While the ball is spinning in the clockwise direction, this ball is able to drag some air from bottom to top because the surface of the ball is not polished evenly. So it has some irregularities also. So due to that, there will be some imbalance in the weights of the body. So therefore, it drags some air and the most of the air will go to the top layer of the ball. It is like this. Because of that, the force on the top of the ball will be more than the force in the bottom of the ball. So force at top is greater than force at bottom. We know that this force is nothing but the weight of the body. So this mg is nothing but the weight of the body. So the upward weight is more than the lower weight. If the weight more than on the top, the ball always use it to choose the lowest path, because this force is acting to keep the body downwards always because of the magnitude greaterness. So that's why ball used to take lowest flight, means its flight is going to decrease continuously. Whether it is an anti-clockwise direction also, it will be the same. So once it is increasing like this, it is suppose this top surface velocity is v, from the bottom surface this velocity is vs, because vs is nothing but the velocity of the spinning. The air molecules, the air layers are spinned due to the velocity of the ball. So the velocity will become v plus vs. In anti-clockwise direction, it used to drag the air from the top and keeps it down. In this case, velocity will become v minus vs. Because in the anti-clockwise direction, the speed of the spinning ball is acting on the top layers of the air and it is keeping to downward direction. So like this, we can understand the dynamic lift. So basically from these two explanations, we can say that dynamic lift is not the lifting, it is the force acting on the body due to the pressure differences at two different levels, maybe at the top to bottom. So these are all the examples for the dynamic lift. Now we will see some illustrations about the Bernoulli's theorem. Now we will discuss the illustrations of Bernoulli's theorem, means some of the examples what we can observe daily about this Bernoulli's theorem. First one, if you see the times of cyclones or heavy wind is blowing, the roofs of a building will blow off due to these heavy winds. Roof of a building blows off due to heavy wind. What is the reason? If suppose this is some small model house, this is the roof of the house. When a heavy wind is blowing from one end to the another end, because it means this roof is experiencing high velocity due to the blowing of the wind. When velocity is more, its pressure decreases. If pressure decreases, that means pressure at the top of the house is less than the pressure due to the bottom. This is the bottom. So pressure at bottom is greater than the pressure at top. Because of this, this bottom pressure is always experienced or always acts upwards. Because of that, this roof will clear off. So this is one of the example of the Bernoulli's theorem. The second example. The second example. Suppose if you see a rotating fan. Suddenly if a fan is switched on, then if you see the papers which were kept on the table, they used to fly off. What is the reason? The force of that wind which is coming out of the rotating fan is more. It is very high in the magnitude. If velocity of that blowing wind is very high, pressure will be very less because of the inversely proportionality between the two physical quantities. Because of that, there will be less pressure between the fan to the papers. That's why due to this less pressure, it is always tries to goes to the high pressure regions. So on the top, pressure is less, like this, if the paper. So on the bottom, in the bottom, pressure will be more. So the body, the pressure at the bottom used to lift the body towards heights. Third example. If you see the human beings are passengers, nothing but the passengers, if you see the human beings which are near to the railway platform, nothing but the passengers, suddenly if a train is approaching towards a passenger, he is on the platform. So while a train is approaching, it will approach with higher velocity. A sudden blow of air onto his face he will experience, a passenger can experience. If there is a sudden increase in the velocity due to the fast moving train, the person, whenever the train is approaching towards him, he, for a small interval of time, he is used to attract towards the train. Because the air is blowing towards the passenger, means the passenger is experiencing the sudden change in the velocity, that to be in the higher magnitude. If velocity is becoming higher, automatically the pressure difference will be less. So the human being or the passenger who is near to the platform is experiencing the low pressure, so he is dragging towards the high pressure. That's why he is not able to stand some while, so he is to attract towards the train which is moving with a high fast. So these are all the examples of Bernoulli's theorem. So these examples are physically visible, that's why these can be called as illustrations also. So like this fluid mechanics, most part of the fluid mechanics and motion of the bodies are simply based on the Bernoulli's principle. Now we will discuss a problem which is based on these illustrations. So this is the problem which is based on the concepts of Bernoulli's principle. A horizontal pipe of cross section 20 square centimeter has a constriction of cross section 5 square centimeter. Gasoline of density rho is equal to 600 kg per centimeter cube flows with a speed of 2 meters per second in the large pipe where the pressure is 6 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. So what is the pressure in the construction? So here the density is 600 kg per centimeter cube. So now what we can understand from this explanation is area A1 is 20 square centimeter, A2 is 5 square centimeter. The density of the gasoline was 600 kg per meter cube, which is flowing with a speed of V is equal to 2 meters per second. So where the pressure in the pipe is 610 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. Now we should find out the pressure in the construction. So we can say that P1 minus P2 is equal to half rho into V2 square minus V1 square. According to equation of continuity, A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. So from this V2 is equal to A1 by A2 of V1. Now I am substituting these values in this equation. Therefore, P1 minus P2 is equal to half rho into, where V2 is A1 by A2 whole square V1 square minus V1 square. Therefore, P1 minus P2 is equal to half rho V1 square into A1 by A2 whole square minus 1. Now I am substituting these all values which were already mentioned in the data of the problem. So therefore, half rho is 600, V1 is 2 meters per second, so V square means 2 square, A1 20, A2 5 minus 1 20 by 5 whole square. This 2 into square 2 times, 600 into 2 1200 into 20 by 5 4 square 16 minus 1, so 1200 into 17. Repeat. So this is 1200 into 16 minus 1, therefore it is 1200 into 15. This one we can write in terms of pressure, we can write this one as Newton per meter square, 18,000 Newton per meter square. So we got the pressure is 0.18 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. How it is valuable? We got 18,000 Newton per meter square. This can be written like this. Why we are writing in this form? Because where the pressure in the pipe is 6 into 10 to the power of 5. pressure in pipe is 6 into 10 to the power of 5 newtons per meter square. So for easy calculations, I have converted this 18,000 into the orders of 10 power 5. So therefore, what is the pressure in the construction? So therefore, pressure in the constriction is equal to pressure in the pipe minus P1 minus P2. So pressure in construction is equal to pressure in the pipe is 6 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square minus pressure in the actual pressure due to the flow is 0.18 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. So if we do the calculation, we will get 5.82 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. So this is the pressure in constriction. The next concept in this fluid dynamics is viscosity. So how can I understand the viscosity? Take two containers, fill with this, one is filled with water. I am writing this one, water. Another same dimensions of the container, but it is filled with glycerin or honey. Two lead shots which are dropped simultaneously to water and this glycerin, which are at two different containers. The lead shot which was dropped into water moves quickly to the bottom part, but the lead shot which was dropped to the glycerin or honey moves slowly and touches the bottom. When compared to the motion of the lead shot in water, this lead shot will take more time to reach the bottom. Both are liquids only, but why the lead shot in the glycerin is taking more time to reach the bottom when compared to the lead shot in the water? Because this glycerin or honey are more viscous than water. So what we can understand from this property? So viscosity is a force, or it is a viscous force. It is a property of the fluid. By virtue of it opposes the relative motion between the layers of the fluid. This is called viscosity. So it is the property of a fluid by virtue of it opposes the relative motion of the layers of the fluid. Is called viscosity. The force which is required to exhibit the property of viscosity is called viscous force. Another way to understand this viscous force is not only to drop the lead shots in the two vessels. Suppose take a funnel, or take any funnel like this, funnel which will be in a shape of like this, let us suppose. Suppose if I dropped water in it, this water can reach the bottom under the action of its weight very easily. But if I dropped any honey, the honey will take more time to reach the bottom. Again, the same example, nothing but the viscosity. Now we will see the expression of viscosity. So the expression of viscosity, let us take a surface. On the surface, some fluid is flowing from one end to the another end. Try to assume this fluid contains n number of elements, nothing but the layers. So this is the surface. On the surface, one liquid was poured. If you see, the top layer is at travel to the long distance. The next layer is back of it. Next layer is back of the 2. The next layer is back of the 3. The next layer is back of the 4. Like that. Means there is a gap between. Means all the layers are not moving to the equal distances, are not moving with the equal velocities when they poured on the horizontal surface. In this case, we are neglecting the frictional force. We are not calculating the frictional force. Still, one layer is proceeding further, but the another layer, very next adjacent layer, is not proceeding that much further. It is simply a slide of it. What is the reason? One layer wants to move further. The internal tangential force is acting between the layers of the fluid, keeping the next layer backwards. So that's why if it is moving with the velocity v, the top layer is moving with velocity v plus dv. If the layer, the third one or second one, has traveled a distance x, the topmost layer of it is traveling the distance x plus dx. In the definition, we have discussed that viscosity is a property of the fluid by virtue to oppose its relative motion between the layers. Relative motion means if the top layer wants to move forward, but the next layer or the adjacent layer keeping the top layer into the backward direction, means dragging to the backward direction. So one wants to move forward, the next adjacent is keeping to backward. That is said to be the relative motion between the layers. So now there is a force acting between these two layers. This force is called tangential force. In other words, it is said to be tangential viscous force. This tangential viscous force is directly proportional to the change in the velocity between adjacent layers and directly proportional to the change in the distance between the adjacent layers but it is a negative gradient of velocity because one is moving to forward, the next adjacent layer is moving backward. So F is proportional to minus dV and proportional to 1 by dx. So F is proportional to minus dV by dx. If I remove this one, F is equal to eta into dV by dx. So therefore, the viscous force is directly proportional to the dV, inversely proportional to the dx, proportional to the area of the adjacent layers also. Therefore, F is proportional to A into dV by dx. This dV by dx we can say as velocity gradient also. So if I remove the proportionality constant, I am replacing with eta. Therefore, eta A into dV by dx. So what is this eta? Eta is coefficient of viscosity. So if you want to find the definition equation for the eta, therefore eta is equal to F by A into dV by dx. So coefficient of viscosity is defined as it is the unit of force acting between the unit surface area of the two adjacent layers which are moving with one unit velocity gradient. It is a unit force acting between two adjacent layers which are moving with one unit velocity gradient. If suppose F is equal to 1 Newton, area is equal to 1 meter square, dV by dx is equal to 1 meter per second per meter, that is nothing but 1 meter square per second, then eta is equal to 1 poise. This poise is the SI unit of coefficient of viscosity. So poise is defined as if a 1 Newton of force acting between one meter square area of the two adjacent layers which are moving with 1 meter square per second velocity gradient. If a Newton force acting between two adjacent layers of cross section 1 meter square which are moving with one meter square per second velocity gradient, then it is called 1 poise. So its symbol is PAS. So poise is the SI unit of coefficient of viscosity.